Raiding is probably the most important aspect of Pokemon Go. It's how you can get some of the best Pokemon in the game, and it's also how you can collect some of the most rarest Pokemon as well. So for this video, I want to talk about some of the biggest mistakes that players often make when it comes to raid battles, and these are some of the things you definitely need to avoid. Alright, how's it going everyone? Count Jinsel here with a brand new Pokemon Go video. I hope your day is going really well, and let's get right into it. So for today's video, I want to talk about some of the most common mistakes that players make when it comes to raiding, and I really do think that these are some of the mistakes you absolutely need to avoid. Raid battling is incredibly important when it comes to Pokemon Go. It basically is the lifeblood of your gameplay. And if you do not raid correctly, you're going to spend way more Pokecoins than you need to, and you're going to just create a lot of bad habits that's going to hamper your success when it comes to this game. Raiding is how you get legendaries, it's how you get mythical Pokemon. It's one of the best forms of content in Pokemon Go, and it does require a lot of effort and a lot of strategy. So if you do not go about it carefully and you make these common mistakes, then you're going to end up having a really bad time playing Pokemon Go, and that is something you should definitely avoid. So yeah, with that said, let's kick things off by talking about probably the one egregious thing that a lot of players do, and that is, of course, purchasing raid passes individually. Yeah, raid passes are expensive. They are 100 Pokecoins each, and you do get a free raid pass every single day by spinning a gym photo disc. But really what it comes down to is finding the best deals in the Pokeshop for getting raid passes. There is often a lot of different bundles that Niantic will bring, and some bundles are going to be way better than others, but overall you will want to look for the best value bundles in order to get as many raid passes as you possibly can. Do not buy raid passes individually, especially if you're someone who wants to raid consistently and in bulk every single day. If you do not buy the correct amount of raid passes for the right amount of Pokecoins, you're going to end up overspending and you're going to run out of Pokecoins before you could actually do a whole bunch of raids. So yeah, it's very important that you continuously look for the best values when it comes to raid passes. I will say that you should look for a discount of about 40%. That means if a bundle is about 1,000 Pokecoins, you should be trying to get about 14 raid passes out of that bundle. It's incredibly important that you try to get as best of a value as you possibly can, and that's really the secret to how so many of the top players get a whole bunch of raids done. And it also requires a lot of patience as well, considering that Niantic does rotate a lot of these bundles, and often there's going to be a lot of ripoffs. You will just want to be careful, and definitely do not buy individual raid passes in the Pokeshop. Now the next mistake that I see a lot of players make is that they spend all of their raid passes on the wrong bosses. This could be a legendary that does not have that much gameplay significance, or it could be for a 1-star or a 3-star raid boss, and it's simply because they feel like that Pokemon is strong in some way, but it's never going to be as strong as some of the legendaries that are out there. You really want to be patient with your raid passes. If you have a whole bunch of them saved up, you will want to continue saving them up until there is a raid boss that is actually worth raiding. These can include Mewtwo, or Dialga, or Rayquaza, or Groudon and Kyogre. Some of these legendaries are incredibly powerful, and they're going to be really great for your account, and you want to use your raid passes on those raid bosses rather than something that is completely useless. That is something that a lot of players tend to do, and I really do think this is a mistake that you will want to avoid. Now when it comes to 1-star and 3-star raid bosses, sometimes they can actually be relevant, and there is that temptation to do a whole bunch of these in order to get yourself a shiny. But let me tell you, it's always going to be much better for you to just simply use your free daily raid pass on 1-star and 3-star raids, and then save your premium raid passes for legendaries and mythicals that are actually worth it. I really do think this is the way you should go about it, because if you're spending a whole bunch of premium raid passes on 1-star or 3-star Pokemon, then you're essentially going to be wasting a lot of those raid passes when you could be using them for something incredibly powerful. That's the thing that you need to watch out for, and it's one of the ways that Niantic can get you, and I really do think you need to avoid it. Now, the next mistake that I see a lot of players make is that they jump into raids with not enough players. This is actually a very common mistake that a lot of players can make, in that they overestimate just how powerful they are, and they end up losing out on raid passes because they can't take the boss down. This is something that even I have made the mistake of, because there are times where I feel like I could duo a raid boss with my team, but the person that I'm raiding with might be having some lag issues, or maybe their Pokemon is not up to stuff, and because of that, we end up failing that raid and I lose that raid pass. This is something you can very easily avoid by just having a little bit of research. Whenever a new raid boss comes out, maybe you could watch one raid guide video to see what the recommended number of trainers are, and then you really need to gauge how powerful your Pokemon are at your current level. You do not want to jump into a raid with the least number of trainers as possible. You will want to go with the most comfortable number of trainers as possible. This could include maybe 3 to 4 extra players just to securely bring it down. And I really do think that's something that players need to understand, is that the more players you have, the more Premier Balls you might end up getting, which is going to allow you to catch more Pokemon. So yeah, try to get as many people as possible. It's very easy to get numbers in this game. You could just simply try to add as many friends as you can and just remote raid through your friends list. This is one of the ways that you can make yourself a much better Pokemon Go player, by simply making friends in Pokemon Go. Now, another mistake that I see a lot of players make when it comes to raid battles is, of course, using the wrong Pokemon. Something that Pokemon Go does that I really think is incredibly frustrating is that they often give you the wrong recommended Pokemon when it comes to jumping into a raid. There are some players out there who are confident that their group can take down a raid boss, and because of that, they just go lazily with whatever the recommended Pokemon are. And often that could lead to some positive results. Of course, like sometimes the game will give you some of the best Pokemon to use, and some players even use the recommended Pokemon to strategically gauge what moves the raid boss is going to have, and they can cater their team according to that. I think the recommended Pokemon is not necessarily always the best option. You could definitely maximize your damage by having a lot of research built into some pre-built teams. Like whenever a raid boss comes out, you should just look up what the top counters are and see what Pokemon in your collection is actually going to be the most useful. Like for example, we have Dialga in raid battles right now, and the raid boss is weak against fighting types and ground types. And sometimes the recommended Pokemon are going to be more tanky ground types rather than the most hard hitting. And when it comes to raid battles, you will want to go with DPS over how long you can last in battle. So yeah, sometimes it's better to have a pre-built team of some of your best ground types that hit the most damage, and that's often something that's going to require a little bit of effort. So I really do think this is a mistake you should avoid by having the best Pokemon every time you do a raid. And this is also going to allow you to defeat some of those raid bosses without having to worry about whether or not you have enough trainers. That's something that you could also avoid by just doing a little bit of research and pre-building your teams before you jump into a raid. And then finally, probably the one mistake that I have personally made quite often when it comes to raid battles, and that is, of course, just simply not raiding. Like, yeah, it can be a daily chore to use up your daily raid pass, especially if you live in an area that does not have a large community. But you should at least try to do at least one raid every single day so that you could utilize that daily raid pass, because raiding is essentially some of the best forms of content in Pokemon Go, and it also keeps the game relevant. Like, if you're not doing raid battles, if you're skipping your raid battles every single day, then you're gonna be missing out on Stardust, experience, and rare candies, as well as rare candy XLs. A lot of that stuff is very important for powering up some of your best Pokemon, and when you power up some of your best Pokemon, that's going to allow you to complete even more raids and even engage in PvP. So it's always important that you're constantly raiding. Even if you do not have a raid group that you could raid with for taking down legendaries, you should still at least use your daily free raid pass on any form of raid that you can take down solo. This could include maybe a Mega Evolution raid, or maybe a 1-star raid that has a good shiny. I really do not know what the case may be, but you should always do some raid battles every single day. Do not skip out on your daily free raid pass usage, and that way you're not going to miss out on any of the resources that you could get from completing raids every single day. And yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for this video. Let me know your thoughts regarding everything that I talked about down below. Is there a particular mistake when it comes to raiding that you see players often make? And are you someone who is actively raiding, and do you feel like it's a relevant form of content? Definitely share your thoughts in the comments down below, and let's have a great discussion. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here. And also don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos videos. Real quick, let me give a shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You all make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Content Slow channel, the absolute best way to do so is always going to be by joining my Patreon. And if you become a paid Patreon member, like the names that you're going to see on the bottom of your screen, then you will get a permanent spot on my in-game Pokemon Go friends list. So that means for stuff like remote raids and the friendship system, if you want to play Pokemon Go with me, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. And if you want to support my channel in a completely different way, you could always do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Kanjinsula. I'm on the platforms that you see on screen. Make sure you go over there and give me a follow. And with all that said, that's going to be it for this video. I'm Kanjinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you in the next one.